Australian premises. The NBN began just over a year ago in Tasmania, and their services are being delivered to the communities of Smithton, Scottsdale and Midway Point. And construction is underway in most of the Tasmanian Stage 2 sites. The 5 first release mainland sites of Armidale, Minamurra, Brunswick, Townsville and Wollonga are all now turned on and connected with trial customers. Construction has also started in the second release sites around Armidale, Coffs Harbour, Kiama Downs and Townsville. So NBN Co recently entered into a number of construction agreements with Silcar to roll out fibre across Queensland, New South Wales and the ACT, Transil Services here in Victoria, Synthio, a Lend-Lease service stream joint venture in Western Australia, and construction agreements in South Australia and the Northern Territory are expected in the coming weeks. There are now more than 650 trial users in the mainland first release sites, and they are loving it. For rural and remote Australians, good progress is being made. Those premises outside the fibre footprint, which we call the last 7%, will receive fixed wireless and satellite technologies. In July, an improved interim satellite service was introduced for people who cannot access metro comparable broadband services. A tender process to design, build and launch 2 broadband satellites, which will form NBN Co's long-term satellite solution, is in its final stages. Meanwhile, planning for the fixed wireless network in rural areas is well underway. NBN Co has announced construction will begin on the fixed wireless network towards the end of this year. First services will be available from the middle of next year. Commercial services over the fibre network, which have not yet begun on the mainland, will commence next month. Retail service providers have also begun announcing their NBN pricing plans, and there's been a lot of commentary about how much this is going to cost consumers. So far, we have seen pricing equivalent to, if not better, than slower ADSL services offered over the ageing copper network. For example, one RSP, Exetel, has announced NBN plans starting at $34.50 per month. Now remember, that does not include line rental. There is no more line rental. And the Exetel offer includes VoIP as well. A number of other RSPs have announced plans and pricing. You can expect more to do so in coming months. And what this represents is choice for consumers. And this is what the NBN is all about. More choice of retailers, more choice of speeds, and more choice of services and plans. So that is where the NBN is up to at the moment. And we are very excited about how we're able to demonstrate to the Australian public exactly why the NBN is going to be benefit to them. I've just been at the launch down at the Institute for Broadband Enabled Society of the Australian Broadband Laboratory, where new applications are going to be available and going to be tested. They've got a mini NBN right there in the university, and you can go in there and test your apps as if you're on the real NBN. So it is a very exciting time. I know you've got another presentation coming, which will talk about the applications and all the things you can do. I mean, we saw some demonstrations this morning of quite extraordinary applications. We saw people who've had strokes who are able to, from their home, be remotely tested, remotely diagnosed. And the equipment is just fabulous. We saw teledental inspections. We had someone had a mouth open somewhere else in Victoria that had a camera inside their mouth. They had the expert dentist giving advice about whether or not that person would need to come to the city to get their teeth done. Aged care was an area where dental health is incredibly important. And what is happening is that instead of having to have every single old person come through a dentist's surgery, you're able to check which ones need to go. We saw testing of ear operations and people being trained to do operations via remote services. But I don't want to take all the thunder of the other speaker. There are just so many areas in education, in health, that are going to transform the way we we do business, and you guys are a big part of that. We're very excited about what you guys are going to be doing online with us, and I'm looking forward to hearing a lot more about what you guys are going to be doing next. So thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. And am I taking questions? Did I agree to? Yeah, no, questions, please. If there's anything I've missed or glossed over or didn't get to, please fire away. Don't be shy. I'm a Collingwood fan, which means I've got most of my teeth. Yes, Darren Jolly is probably not going to play. It's quite tragic. Questions?
I've got a question for another staff. You talk about competition, and I think that'll be fantastic. When you've got and I hate to use the word a monopoly, which is the NBN managing the infrastructure, what's going to drive them to make sure that they're keeping the costs at absolute minimum? Because if they don't, then competition will be at whatever price it is.
Yeah, no, look, two things. Firstly, the ACCC have been given enormous new powers. If there was a failure in privatising a vertically integrated company in Telstra back in the 90s and through the 2000s, the second greatest failure was to not give the ACCC sufficient powers. If you look at the bill we passed last December, we'd said to the ACCC, give us your list of things you need to be able to regulate this sector. And they gave us the list and we did them all. So there is firstly significant enhanced powers for the ACCC. We also don't have the incentive to behave like Telstra were behaving. So I expect that a whole range of the sort of turn up to install a D-slam in an exchange and find that the engineer that was assigned to help you was on holiday for 2 weeks, come back in 2 weeks, he's got a sick day, come back in 3 weeks, and they've got a fence built around the building, and the key they gave you to the door of the exchange doesn't open the padlock on the fence. All true stories. One exchange in Canberra, not joking. So that sort of behaviour, this is no incentive. We want to maximise traffic. The second thing is, essentially, NBN Co have been asked by the government to do it for 7%. Now, there's no one in this room, I suspect, will get out of bed for 7%, and we don't think that it's viable as a commercial 25% business. So we've told them we don't want them to try and price to achieve a 25% business. We only want to price for a 7% business. But equally, we have gas, water, electricity, utility sectors. And we managed to regulate them in this country as wholesale companies without the sort of debacles we've had in the telco sector. To give you an example, water, gas, electricity, airports. In 11 years, there have been a grand total in all of those sectors of 4 access disputes go to court. In the same period, in the telecommunications sector, more than 150 access disputes have gone to court. So what you're seeing is a significant change in both the incentives, a significant change in the regulatory powers, and it's not a wholesale company that has been told to go and make 25% or 15%. So their corporate plan has always been aimed that as they get more revenue, they begin to reduce their prices over time. So in the telco sector, as you would all know, prices come down over time. Now you may say, well, what about this SAU undertaking that was 5% above inflation? They've got a 30-year deal they've got to do, and they're just trying to give themselves some flexibility. Now, to be fair, I think it was a bit of an ambit claim, and I think Rod Sims absolutely thinks it was an ambit claim. So again, this was a first draft for public comment, and it got some of the comments that it deserved, and I think you'll find that the ACCC are playing a far more proactive role than they have in the past. So we're still going through those early processes, but fundamentally that breaking apart the structure, we've successfully managed other utility-based infrastructures, and I think the ACCC have now got the powers to make sure the NBN stick to their script as well.
What's the priority for NBN rollout? Is there a high priority for business-oriented locations or more for residential?
Yeah, look, we did a deal with the independents, obviously as part of, and they said, as many of you would know, that the NBN was a vital part of why they voted for the Gillard government. People immediately assumed we were going to stop building the cities, whereas if you looked at where we were already building, we're actually doing probably a majority of the first sites were in regional Australia. So that deal didn't actually do much. We brought forward the satellite as fast as we could, the satellite option, the interim satellite option, and we brought forward the wireless probably faster than we otherwise would have done. So to respond to that, we brought forward the satellite, the interim satellite, and as fast as you can get satellites done, and there is a 3 to 4 to 5 year time frame on them. Now, in terms of inside, how many engineers are in the room before I start insulting them? I need to see hands. Hands, not that many are engineers. That's the question. Okay, engineers, bane of my life. They're just such flexible human beings. They draw a line on a map and go, we're going there. And you go, what about the library on the other side of the road where we're holding the demonstration about the benefits of the NBN? No, I can't do it. Or at the TAFE on the other side of the road in Armidale that literally just needs to be connected and it'll start doing all this fantastic teaching via remote. No, I can't do it. It's outside the line. Fantastic, I love them. And my friends, they came to see me with the original first 5 release sites. And they said, there's Armidale, there's Townsville, there's Kima Downs, there's Wollonga, there's Brunswick here in Melbourne, Minister, your hometown. I said, you know the N in NBN, it stands for national? And Tassie was already been done several weeks ago. I think Western Australia is part of the country. Any chance we could get a first release site in Western Australia? Well, as you can see, we still only got 5 first release sites. And so the engineers are guided at the moment partially by the availability of Telstra's infrastructure. So when the ACCC made the decision to change the number of POIs, I don't have to explain to it, that's great, it meant we needed now suddenly to access a lot of Telstra infrastructure. So which exchanges are available, which have air conditioning, which have space,